guys, in science with Monday, December 7th. Hey, we got a couple pages we're going to be kind of skipping around a little bit. Still dealing with life science and more specifically our bodies and how they work, all the different systems. We talked about the bloodstream here last week before Thanksgiving. We talked about the skeletal system, muscular system before Thanksgiving. And today we're going to talk about something we like to call the respiratory system. You can see that big long word here. Don't want to have to start off your day with your homework, but the reason I put this slide in here is so that you can see exactly what your assignment is. I'm going to ask you to almost pause this real quickly after I'm done with this sentence, and I want you to have your paper packet out right while we're going through this, because you can pause it right when you see you're on the slide that we're talking about. Look at this. We can talk about things like mucus and nose hairs. Oh, man, yuck. But anyways, we get to talk about all that stuff today, and you can write your answers down when we go through it. When you see it on the slide, you say, boom, that's the answer. Pause, write it down, and you're learning and you're getting your homework done at the same time. So here's the deal, guys. With the respiratory system, like we already talked about, yeah, there is some kind of gross stuff in here, but I don't want you to think that, oh, yeah, I mean, some of it might make you do that, but again, anytime we talk about our body, it's amazing how God made us. We can't help but say, man, God, you're an awesome God. Thank you for making our bodies in this way. And I think it just helps being good stewards to learn about our bodies and how they work. And what the respiratory system is this. This is the job of your the job of your respiratory system is to carry gases between the outside air and your blood. Now, I want you to focus on the gases. That's air, right? You can't really see it, but it's all around us. That's air. You understand, just like we talked about earlier, how important food and water is and how that gets into our bloodstream. Well, the third vital thing besides food and water is air. And that's what we're talking about today with your respiratory system. You're breathing. Now, what I want you to remember is those three vital things, but how important your bloodstream is and how your bloodstream works with all your other systems. That's one of the reasons we started with that as one of the first systems, the circulatory system or the bloodstream, because without that, our air couldn't get to every last cell in our bodies that's alive, right? Going all the way back to August when we talked about cells. We got cells here and here and here and on the tips of our toes. Everywhere we're made of cells. That's how God made us. And every one of our cells is alive, which means they need food, water, and air. Our bloodstream works with all those to help get them. Remember, the plasma in our blood is like the dump truck that carries food and water, delivers it to the cell. It takes all the bad, nasty stuff, the waste, and it puts it back into your digestive system so you can get rid of it when you go potty. It's amazing how that works. And you remember the red blood cells? Remember those? Those are the ones that take the air to all the cells. But let's first of all talk about how we even get air into our bodies. Well, I think you guys understand it deals with breathing, but you got to understand your respiratory system is a lot just more than and your lungs. This is what helps you sing with your favorite karaoke song, or when you're rocking out to Bob Dylan, as I'm sure you guys do every day. This is what helps make you laugh. It's all with your respiratory system. That's all the gases or the air from the outside into your body, and carbon dioxide we get rid of when we exhale going out, right? That's all the respiratory system. One important thing in the respiratory system is mucus. Now, if you remember, this is one of your questions here. I think this is number 2 for your assignment. But I hope you're not watching this right before bed and you have nightmares. But this is what mucus looks like. Ah, yuck. I'm not trying to be gross. but you might have had that in your throat. Don't do this now, especially if you're at home. Don't be telling your mommy and auntie that Mr. Poggle told you to do this. I'm not telling you. Don't do it. Don't do it. But you may have done this when you go and you're trying to get that nasty stuff out of your throat. That's mucus. This is what God put in our bodies to help trap the bad stuff that's getting into our body. You see this? Dust, germs, and other things that may be in the air. I wish I could say our air is the cleanest air ever, but there's still bad things in air, including dust and other things that our body says, whoa, wait a second, we don't want that in here. And your lungs especially are incredibly particular about only air. Only air. Remember we talked about those two tubes here? Right? Esophagus is for food, trachea is for air, and the epiglottis covers the trachea when you're eating so that food doesn't go down there. Your body says, man, we only want air in here. And you might have that in your throat where you kind of and you cough that nasty stuff out. It might be this greenish yellowish stuff. That's mucus, and that is a defense mechanism of your body. It says, hey, this is some nasty dust or germs. We're going to trap it with the mucus. It literally just like this nasty, well, it's mucus. It just kind of covers it, and your body go and gets it out, right? Another place, lots of your respiratory system is covered with mucus, and your air now goes through one of two places, either your mouth or your throat. And when we will talk about nose hairs are almost like a spider web in your nose. And maybe when you're older, you gotta trim them. Ask your uncle about that. But what literally gets forced, say, why in the world are there hairs in your nose? What's the point? Well, think about when you're breathing through your nose. There are many things in the air that is not meant to go in your body. And your nose hairs are just like this web, intertangled hair that it has to go through. Now, air can go through it very easily, but sometimes different particles might get trapped in there. And your nose hairs trap it kind of like a spider web, and then, sorry to go back to it, enter the mucus. And your body says, hey, the nose hairs trapped it. Way to go, nose hairs. Mucus, now you go. And again, don't you dare tell mommy or auntie that Mr. Poggle told you about this. Oh, you got to do it for science. I got to pick my nose for it. No, you don't need to pick your nose for science. But that's where boogers are. Boogers are literally things that are trapped in your nose hair that your body sends mucus down to trap, and it's covering it so it can go out your body. Get a tissue and wash your hands to get rid of the boogers and the mucus. But we call them boogers. All it is really mucus, and it's your body saying, hey, we trapped some of the bad stuff that we don't want in our body. We want to get it out of our body, and that's why you blow your nose. That's why when you're sick, your body's just working overtime and creating that mucus and is trying to get it out of your body. It's really annoying when your nose keeps constantly running, but that's your body saying, let's send this mucus down and let's try to get this stuff out of our body. Now, we also have something called cilia. You might have never ever heard of cilia, but let's say the air, and there are some bad particles that still get past your nose hair, still get past your throat with your mucus. Well, the cilia is almost like kind of a little brushing thing. You ever go to a car wash and you have those big, like almost like hairy brushes, and they just have those, it looks like long hair kind of on it. I hope I'm explaining it well. But that's kind of what cilia are. They're right here. They're all part of your respiratory system and in your trachea. The tube that you breathe through that goes down to your lungs. And again, that's just there kind of waving back and forth, much like your nose hairs have a web of hair to trap different things. Same with your cilia in your trachea. It just kind of, it's not hair, but notice it's hair-like structures in your cells of your trachea, and they're kind of also forming a little bit of a barrier to trap stuff. And when you do that, you go and you got that nasty stuff. I'm sorry for the nasty sound. But when you do that and you spit that nasty mucus out, you can say, thank you, cilia. You did your job. The cilia prevented that bad stuff that it found from getting into your lungs, which would then get into your heart and through the rest of your body, right? Without the cilia, we'd have a lot more bad stuff in our body that would cause a lot more sicknesses. Now, remember when we talked about the trachea? There are two tubes in your throat. The esophagus is for food. The trachea, it goes to the lungs. Please don't get them confused. There are two tubes right here in your neck, back to back. And again, that epiglottis is what covers your trachea for the air when you're chewing food, so that that food does not get down to your your lungs. The larynx, by the way, is also part of this tube, and that's where your vocal cords are. That's where you can go really, really low or really, really high, and so on and so forth. That's what people are really working on when they practice their singing. Now, why in the world do I have a lion? Well, you guys know how important your trachea is. Please don't do this or do it to anybody. Don't again do it to anybody in your family. But you guys know when there's stuff pushed on your neck, you can't breathe. That's how important your trachea is to your body, because if you can't breathe, none of that air is getting to your cells, which your cells need to be alive. That is why animals know just with instinct to go, hey, if I want to kill this deer quickly, I'm going to go and I'm going to attack at the trachea. That's going to be the quickest way to get a meal. Literally suffocate this deer or antelope, whatever it is, and so I can eat it. That's exactly what's going on. That's where they're going for the neck or the trachea. Now your bronchioles. Your bronchioles are, again, going from your mouth or your nose down your trachea into your lungs. Your bronchioles are in your lungs. If we have this snapshot of the lungs here, this is your trachea and your bronchioles are right here. These are those two larger tubes here. They're called bronchi, and all these little smaller things, those are literally tubes that expand when you breathe in air and contract when you breathe out. That's what's going on. If you have ever heard of somebody that has something that's called bronchitis or asthma, that can be really tough. If you've heard of somebody that has an asthma attack, what's going on is all these little bronchioles right here are not expanding when you breathe. So it literally feels like you can't breathe and you got shortness of breath, and it's really frightening. And that's why you might see somebody with an inhaler, and what they literally does is shoots a bunch of air and forces those bronchioles to open up. But that's what's happening with different things like, bronchitis is that nasty stuff in your lungs, that mucus, and you try to cough it out. But asthma is a disease that the bronchioles aren't expanding like they should from time to time. But at any rate, that's what these are. These are the bronchi, the two major tubes, and then the bronchioles are all the little smaller tubes, and we got them all over the place in our lungs. And that's what's literally expanding, while your lungs go out and collapse, because all those bronchioles in there are expanding. Now, I'm hoping you guys had a little bit more of a understanding of our respiratory system. I do think I'm going to have these, actually, the slides that we just went through. I'm sorry to knock on my microphone. But the slides that we just went through with all the pictures are going to be in your paper packet that you can use if you want. Or you can go back to this video and watch them. Or, of course, the pages on the book are really going to help you out here. Especially when you talk about air sacs in there. That's also in your lungs. It helps expand and contract. It helps us breathe. But all of that is in the science book, guys. I'm sorry for a little bit longer video, but just so amazing how God made our body, and want to talk to you about it. But Hey guys, Lord's blessings to you today, this Monday, as you praise your Savior.